$8,200 cash. You sold a property this morning. The money is in a Ziploc bag inside your purse. You are on your way to the bank to deposit it. You get pulled over for a turn signal violation. The officer leans into your window, flashlight sweeping the interior, and the beam catches the bag. "Ma'am, what's in that bag?" "Just some cash," you say. He pauses. "How much?" "About 8,000. His posture changes. "Where did you get it?" And right there, in the next 20 seconds, you are about to make a mistake that could cost you every single dollar. If you are a senior and you ever carry cash, from a sale, from savings, from a gift, from an estate, this video could be the most important thing you watch this year. Because what most older Americans do not know is that police have a legal tool that allows them to take your money at a traffic stop without arresting you, without charging you with any crime, and without going before a judge first. It is called civil asset forfeiture, and it has stripped cash from thousands of law-abiding seniors across this country. Before we get into exactly what to say and what not to say, if you want to keep learning about your rights, rights that nobody ever taught you in school, rights that become more important the older you get, subscribe to this channel right now. We release new videos every week covering what to do during police stops, how to protect your property, and how to navigate legal situations that affect seniors most. Hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. This is educational content only. For advice on your specific situation, consult a licensed attorney in your jurisdiction. Here is the reality of what happens when an officer asks a senior about cash on the roadside. The older you are, the more vulnerable you are in this specific scenario, and that is not an accident. Seniors often carry larger amounts of cash for legitimate reasons: medical expenses paid out of pocket, selling lifelong possessions, receiving gifts from family, managing estate funds after a spouse passes. Seniors are also more likely to answer questions cooperatively, more likely to try to explain, and more likely to believe that the truth will resolve the situation quickly. That instinct, that cooperative, honest, good faith instinct, is exactly what forfeiture procedures are designed to exploit. Here is how the mechanism works. When an officer identifies what their training calls indicators, a large cash amount, nervous behavior, an inconsistent or incomplete story, they can legally initiate a seizure without making an arrest. The government then files a civil case not against you, but against the money itself. The legal caption literally reads something like State versus $8,200 in U.S. currency. You are not the defendant. Your money is. And the burden falls on you to prove the money is legitimate, not on the government to prove it is not. To get it back, you must hire an attorney, file paperwork, appear in court, and navigate a legal process that most people in their 70s and 80s have never encountered and find deeply overwhelming. The cost of fighting frequently exceeds what was taken. Recovering $3,000 can cost $4,500 in legal fees. Most seniors make the painful calculation that it is not worth the fight. The money is gone, and the officer went home that night having done nothing technically illegal under the law as it currently stands in most states. The officer does not need to arrest you. He does not need to charge you. He needs you to talk. And the moment you explain where the money came from, you have handed him everything he needs to build a case for seizure. Here is the psychology of what happens in those moments. Your brain tells you to explain. You are honest. You have nothing to hide. You have been taught your whole life that cooperating with police is the right thing to do. All of that is true in most contexts. But in a forfeiture scenario, every detail you provide is a potential inconsistency waiting to be found. You say you sold a coin collection. The officer asks the buyer's name. You give it. He asks when. You say Tuesday morning. He asks where. You describe a parking lot. Any single detail in that chain that cannot be instantly verified. The buyer does not answer when called. The parking lot is across town from where you said you were coming from. The timestamp on your receipt does not line up. Becomes ammunition. You built the case against your own money. The correct response when an officer asks where you got your cash is this: I prefer not to answer questions. Say it calmly. Say it clearly. Say it without apology. I prefer not to answer questions. That is your Fifth Amendment right being exercised in 5 words. You are not required to explain your finances during a routine traffic stop. Not for a broken turn signal. Not for an expired registration sticker. Not for any minor moving violation. A question about the source of your money does not carry legal compulsion. You are not obligated to answer it. If the officer responds with, "Well, if you've got nothing to hide, why won't you tell me?" You do not take the bait. You do not try to re-explain. You do not get flustered and start talking. You respond with this exact phrase: I am respectfully exercising my right to remain silent. Not, I'd rather not say. Not, I'm not comfortable with this. Not a nervous laugh and an explanation. The phrase I am respectfully exercising my right to remain silent creates a clear legal record. It invokes a constitutional protection by name. It is the difference between appearing uncooperative and being legally protected. Practice these 2 phrases until they are in your bones. I prefer not to answer questions. I am respectfully exercising my right to remain silent. These 2 sentences protect your money more powerfully than any explanation you could give, no matter how truthful. The second trap that officers use, especially with seniors, is the consent request. After you decline to explain the cash, many officers will pivot immediately to something that sounds reasonable and even helpful. You don't mind if I just take a quick look at that, do you? I just want to make sure everything's okay. This is the consent trap. It is one of the most effective tools in any officer's roadside toolkit, and it works particularly well on older adults who have been raised to be helpful and accommodating. Notice how the question is constructed. You don't mind, do you? If you say yes, you appear to agree. If you say no, that also sounds like agreement because "No, I don't mind" means yes. The phrasing is designed to confuse, and most people, caught off guard, wanting to seem cooperative, wanting the stop to end, say sure or okay or just hand over the bag without saying a word. The moment you consent, the legal situation changes completely and permanently. The officer can now handle your property. He is examining the bills while looking for forfeiture indicators, denomination nicks, how the money is bundled, whether rubber bands are present, the condition of the bills. He is building a profile, and you handed him permission to do it. If he finds anything, even something you knew nothing about, it is legally fair game. Your consent was captured on body camera. You cannot challenge it afterward. The correct response is 4 words stated as a clear declaration, not a question. I do not consent to any searches. Not, I guess you don't have to. Not, I'd rather you didn't. A clear, unambiguous refusal. I do not consent to any searches. If he says he is just trying to help, you respond, I understand, officer, but I do not consent to any searches. If he says this will only take a moment, you hold firm. I do not consent to any searches. Courts have ruled that vague responses and silence can be interpreted as implied consent. You must affirmatively and clearly refuse. These words, spoken calmly, create the clearest possible record if the encounter escalates to a legal challenge. Repeat them until they are automatic. I do not consent to any searches. The third trap is the casual question. After you have declined to explain the cash and declined the search request, officers often shift to what sounds like small talk. Where are you headed today? Seems harmless. But if you say home, and you are traveling in the opposite direction of your registered address, that is a flag. Where are you coming from? If you say the doctor and the timestamp on the stop does not line up with clinic hours, that is an inconsistency. This is the backdoor approach, and it works because people do not recognize it as a continuation of the interrogation. They relax. They answer. And within 60 seconds, they have voluntarily given the officer a timeline full of holes. Once you invoke your right to remain silent, you maintain it across every question that follows. Officer asks where you are headed. You respond, I am respectfully not answering questions. He says he is just making conversation. You respond, I have invoked my right to remain silent, officer. He says you are making this harder than it needs to be. You respond calmly, I am not trying to be difficult. I am simply exercising my constitutional rights. Calm. Polite. Consistent. Do not let a friendly tone or a concerned voice draw you back into answering. Courts have repeatedly held that asserting your right to remain silent cannot be used as grounds for extending a stop or initiating a seizure. Your silence protects you. Your answers create risk. Now here is what every senior watching this video needs to understand about how the law actually operates in most of this country. Police can seize your cash without charging you with anything. No arrest. No conviction. No criminal case at all. The civil forfeiture action is filed against the property. In many states, the legal standard to seize is a preponderance of the evidence, which means more likely than not that the money is connected to illegal activity. That is a far lower bar than the standard required for a criminal conviction. In practice, it means that suspicious indicators combined with an inconsistent story is often enough. The law varies by state, and the variation matters enormously. Some states have passed significant reforms requiring a criminal conviction before a forfeiture becomes permanent. Other states, including many in the South and Midwest, allow officers to seize on suspicion alone and force the owner to fight for recovery through civil proceedings. Federal adoption laws allow local agencies to transfer seized property to federal jurisdiction and retain a large share of the value, even bypassing state-level protections. If you live in a state without strong protections, silence is not just smart. It is your primary legal defense. The chain that leads to forfeiture is predictable and consistent. An officer sees cash. He asks questions. The owner explains. The explanation contains details. The details contain inconsistencies. The inconsistencies justify seizure. Silence breaks that chain completely. No story, no inconsistencies. No inconsistencies, no ammunition. No ammunition, no sustainable legal basis. Here is the complete protocol you need to follow, in exact sequence, anytime an officer asks about cash in your possession. This is not optional, and it is not something you adjust based on how the officer is behaving or how the encounter feels. The first step is physical safety. Keep both hands visible at all times. Do not reach toward your purse or the cash. Place your hands on the steering wheel and state it out loud. Officer, my hands are on the wheel, and I am not reaching for anything. This establishes on camera that you are compliant, calm, and not a physical threat. The second step is to determine whether you are being asked or ordered. If the officer asks where you got the money, that is a request. You can decline a request. If the officer says, "Tell me where you got that money," in a commanding tone, clarify before responding. Officer, are you asking me or ordering me to answer? If it is a request, your response is, "I prefer not to answer questions." If the officer says it is an order, you ask calmly and on record. For the record, officer, What is the legal basis for ordering me to disclose my personal financial information during a traffic stop? A routine violation does not authorize a financial interrogation. Putting that question on camera is powerful if the encounter becomes a legal matter. The third step is to invoke the recording protocol. State clearly, "For everyone's safety, I am recording this interaction as well." If the officer asks why, respond simply, "Just for transparency, officer." You have the right to record in public in nearly every state. Mutual documentation changes the dynamic of the encounter. The fourth step is your 4 phrases, used in sequence, held under pressure. When asked about the cash, I prefer not to answer questions. When asked to consent to a search, I do not consent to any searches. When questioning continues, I am respectfully exercising my right to remain silent. When asked if you are refusing to cooperate, I am cooperating fully with this stop, officer. I am simply exercising my constitutional rights. These 4 phrases, delivered calmly and without hesitation, are your complete legal shield. Practice them. Say them out loud right now, if you are somewhere you can. The goal is automatic delivery. No fumbling, no hesitation, no nervous qualification that undermines what you are saying. Here is what you should expect after you decline to answer and decline consent. Some officers will acknowledge your rights and proceed with the stop. They understand the law, and they know that your refusal alone is not grounds for extended detention. Others will push. "Look, I'm just trying to help you out." Nothing an officer says at a traffic stop is designed to help you with your cash. It is designed to get you talking. "If you just explain, this will all be cleared up quickly." The explanation is not the solution. It is the problem. "I'm going to call a K-9 unit." Under the Rodriguez decision from the U.S. Supreme Court in 2015, officers cannot prolong a stop beyond the time reasonably needed to complete the traffic purpose in order to wait for a drug dog. Once your documents have been returned to you, you ask directly, "Am I free to leave?" Your refusal to discuss your cash is not reasonable suspicion for an extended detention. Courts have confirmed this. If an officer tells you he is going to search regardless of your refusal, do not resist physically. State one final time on record, "I do not consent to this search." Then stay still. Let the officer do what he will do, and let your attorney handle everything that follows. If your cash is seized, request a receipt. Record the officer's name and badge number. Note the exact time, location, and circumstances. Contact an attorney within 48 to 72 hours. Many jurisdictions impose strict filing deadlines on forfeiture challenges, and missing those deadlines can permanently eliminate your ability to recover what was taken. Your documented refusal and your invocation of rights on camera is precisely what gives your attorney a path to fight. Here is the principle that holds everything in this video together. When a police officer asks a senior about their cash, your answers can only create risk. They can never make you safer. Every detail you offer is a potential inconsistency. Every inconsistency is fuel for a seizure. And silence stops the chain before it ever gets started. You are not being difficult. You are not being hostile. You are using the constitutional protections that exist for exactly this kind of moment. Commit your 4 phrases to memory right now. Am I free to leave? I prefer not to answer questions. I do not consent to any searches. I am respectfully exercising my right to remain silent. Write them down. Keep them in your wallet. Practice them with a family member. The goal is not just to know them. It is for them to come out of your mouth automatically, calmly, and with the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly what their rights are and is not afraid to use them. Because you have earned that confidence. This is educational content only and is not legal advice. Civil asset forfeiture laws differ significantly by state. Consult a qualified attorney in your area for guidance on your specific circumstances. Your money is your property. Your silence is your protection. And knowing both, and using both, is the difference between keeping what is yours and spending the next year trying to get it back from a system that has every legal incentive to hold onto it. If this video helped you understand rights you did not fully know you had, subscribe to this channel right now. Every week we publish new videos specifically about the rights seniors have, how to use them in real encounters with law enforcement, and how to protect yourself, your property, and your family. This channel exists so that you know what to say before you ever need to say it, and for seniors especially, that knowledge is power. Hit subscribe, share this with someone you care about, and we will see you in the next video. Stay informed. Stay protected. Your rights don't expire, and neither should your knowledge of them.